Alrighty, Void. So, back in my Toho binge, before I started the Millennium series, I wanted to tie up a few loose ends. Recently, loose term, I did Frankenstein Conquers the World. So, before moving further on, should handle its sequel, War of the Gargantuas. So, War of the Gargantuas, essentially it follows up on the previous film. This one's circa 1966. So, they have the same, I don't know if they're the same actors off the top of my head, but they're essentially the same team who is raising Frankenstein, are called in to investigate reports of, some creature at sea that seems to be eating people. And it's especially when people are claiming it's Frankenstein. Well, Frankenstein's never been known to be in that environment, but they've come to start looking into it anyway, only to come across something else that seems to look like Frankenstein hiding out in the mountains. But, well, that doesn't seem to be the thing that's eating people, or is it? They kind of play this cat and mouse for a while before realizing there are two giant monsters, each essentially spawned from the original Frankenstein. So they dub one Sanda and the other one Gyra. So Gyra is the one at sea who likes to eat him some people. That seems to be his main motivating force, is filling his tummy full of delicious, delicious people treats. While Sanda is much more friendly and seem to try to prevent people from getting into trouble with some landslides and other natural disasters. But he also feels some kinship for his brother and is trying to protect him as well from humans. At least until Gyra won't stop eating people, and then they have to fight it out. That's pretty much where we go. It's the fight between those two. Yeah. Before both just essentially tumble away vanishing. As was the ending of a lot of kaiju movies in the 60s. So. War of the Gargantuas, it's fine. This one's not one of those ones that just doesn't really go a lot of places. And you can see why, for the most part, it's been relatively unrevisited. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it just doesn't have a lot of the glitz that a lot of the other ones do. It was nice to see them trying to do a sequel to one of their earlier films, but for me, Frankenstein Conquers the World was kind of the better film, and Baragon was a more interesting monster than Gyra. So, 50-50 there. Just trying to think of what else there is to go in about it. The effects are pretty standard 60s Toho. I don't know if there was much of a difference between the Japanese and the English version of this one, since actually I think the dub version was much more condensed. What I watched was the original uncut Japanese version. It's fine. It's but a little dull. It lacks any of the jazz from the other ones, like I was saying. It's 4 MacGuffins for me. War of the Gargantuas isn't one I come back to very often. This was more of an obligation watch at this point, so it's fine, but not one I often go back to. There's just better 60s Toho films. Yeah, I think that's really all I got on this one, so shorter one, but here we are. I spent more time sitting looking at what little notes I had, just trying to figure out what the heck I was going to talk about this one. I swear I did talking about it. But it is what it is. Moving on.